Hey, it's Adam Freeman and Brian Garside. We're here
Hey, it's
for
me.
our live show that was going to start in about 5 minutes, but we like to get on a little bit early so that people can find their chairs, get their water, make sure the microphones are working, and kind of get things out of the way. How you doing, buddy?
Good, good. How are you?
Good. He's concentrating on getting the slides up and running.
Man.
If you are seeing this, this is our kind of our early pre-show banter. Please feel free to always chime in. Let us know that you're watching. Let us know what it is that you're interested in and talking about this week. Once again, this is going to be Comic Industry Insiders Live. We're going weekly as of this week, and our goal is to bring you the industry news that you need for your business or career in comics, and to kind of give you perspective on what we're seeing for the stuff that's coming in. And whoever this comic shop is, this is I really like their new issue wall here. It's really impressive. I don't know where we grabbed this image though. I'm always impressed with it. Hi, Martin. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being here. All right, we've got about 4 minutes out. And Brian is going to continue to concentrate and make that like strained look as the
I am
to get those slides ready
I
to
put my
go.
glasses on, but then I'd break the whole overall aesthetic. Then I wouldn't be squinting anymore.
It's a very strange time to be doing a show about comics, the comics industry, because it is changing rapidly, as they say.
Yeah, you're not kidding. This is, man, I can't remember a time that changed this much, and we lived through the pandemic.
I know.
Honestly, it's kind of crazy.
You know what I was noticing is it didn't even make it this week, which is saying a lot about what's going on. I know we have a rundown of stories that we're going to be talking about, but what's not on that list is Bleeding Cool. There's a story on there right now about IDW is getting your comic shop destroyed by Godzilla again.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Are you guys you going to do that for your shop? You're going to get your own Godzilla destroying? No.
Do you know how many copies you need to buy to get that? Yeah, I don't think there's enough people in my city that could buy enough copies to make that.
Well, I know we used to use them as almost like business cards,
Yeah.
Hey, Martin, you know what I would say, there's a lot of problems facing our industry. We're all dealing with. I see Kickstarters though as actually as a net gain. I think they're net positive. They allow really small publishers to get a path to market. They allow bigger publishers to promote and to kind of get an immediate feedback on product. Kickstarters can be really valuable. They can be detrimental if you don't handle them correctly, but I think overall, like any smart publisher has to have some sort of direct to consumer path, and the Kickstarters are a really great way to do that. But again, I know a lot of comics retailers think of them as as competitors. I think from 10,000 feet, I think the tent looks more like a promotional opportunity and a way to connect direct consumers that don't have comic shops in their area more than it is a competitor for the direct market. But your mileage.
Well, not only that, but I mean, when we're talking about smaller creators too, which like there's a very real possibility where fairly soon that whole small creator market is going to dry up, right? And you still need that pipeline of new creators coming in, and those creators coming in with a built-in audience is a net positive for comic stores.
Absolutely.
That's the big thing you're going to see as a difference is these Kickstarter creators are bringing in audiences.
Yeah.
We saw it with Berserker, right? Like
I think so. Yeah.
There was a built-in audience there when it came in. So
Martin is saying the same, right? He said that's how he started, and it's become a pre-order machine, right? That's how you kind of get go from 0 to 1.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have an intro, Kyle? Do we jump into an intro? Is there an intro, Brian? Or we just we're at the top. We're at the top of the hour, so I guess we're just gonna launch this sucker. All right, great.
Yeah, let me look and see. There may be. Let me see if there isn't. There actually is a intro.
Did we? You know what? We didn't promote this.
Go to the intro.
Go for it. Let's do it.
All right. Ready? Throwing.
Hi, my name is Adam Freeman. This is Comic Industry Insiders Live. This is the live version of a podcast that we do once a week called Comic Industry Insiders, where we talk to the people behind the scenes of the comic book industry, get to know them and the tips and background that they can bring to your business or career in comics. Our goal here with this live show is really to give you a more up-to-date version of that. Those long-form conversations are really about digging in deep into the weeds with some people, but that also means that we don't get a chance to talk about some of the more timely stuff that you are having to deal with with your business in comics. My partner in this process is a beautiful man named Brian
It's me.
Garside.
It's me.
Managed Comics. Managed Comics, for those of you who don't know, is an incredible addition to your POS system in your point of sale system in your comic shop. And Brian is certainly an advocate for direct market comic shops and good data and comic shops and comics fans everywhere. So I'm so happy to have him here. Hey, Brian.
Yeah, awesome. Good to be here. And I love building slide decks. So this is my weekly ability to build cool slide decks.
And you're right, Chuck. He is a handsome and powerful man. Once again, our goal here on the live show is to really dig and bring you some of the headlines that you're dealing with, to give you some of the insider perspective that we're getting in our work. I run Prana Direct Market Solutions, which is a consulting and services company primarily for publishers, but we also deal a lot with retailers and everybody who works inside of comics. And so Brian and we deal behind the scenes of the comics industry every day. And so our goal here was to bring you some of that perspective of the things that we're seeing, of the issues that you're going to have to deal with. And basically to say the quiet part out loud, I guess, right? I don't know if that's what we're into. If you're watching this, thank you for tuning in. But we definitely want to hear from you. Especially if I see your name pop up and I don't know what your place in the comics sphere is, I would love to hear from you and see where you work or what your career goals are. We want to get a feeling for who we're talking to and how we can best present this information to you. If you're also listening to this later, our goal is to give you an audio recording of this on our Comic Industry Insiders podcast channel. We would love to hear from you either at info@PranaDM or in the comments on whatever platform that you're working with. So thank you so much for dialing in. Brian, this has been yet another crazy week, right?
Holy mackerel. This has been, the last couple of weeks have been absolutely insane. But yeah, let's we want to dive into some headlines.
Let's do it. What are we up to today?
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the Diamond Comics bankruptcy auction. We're going to talk about Alliance acquiring Diamond. Then we'll jump into Distillery's move to Penguin Random House, which I believe is their third distributor in the last couple of years.
Well, they did come out of the gate with both Lunar and Diamond, so they really.
And then they jumped to Diamond. They went
Diamond at one point,
yeah. We have Alien Books and IDW, and it's interesting because this seems to be kind of a new paradigm for how distributors are sub-distributing. So that's kind of interesting. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the impact of tariffs, which are still kind of up in the air. We still don't know exactly what it's going to mean, but we'll know more tomorrow.
I think that, I think that that's where Brian, I think originally we conceived this show as a monthly live show. And part of the real struggle that we had was these things are so dynamic and so shifting that, the thing that is important this week is not going to be the thing that's important in 3 weeks when we're going to go live. So, especially things like the tariffs it really do go to the fact that we hope there's a real need for this kind of content. But please do let us know. And man, if you're not liking or subscribing right now, I don't know what's wrong with you. Like,
Smash the buttons.
smash those buttons.
Buttons.
All right, well, let's dig right into the first one.
Hey,
But yes.
why don't you do a little promo?
But another weekly project that we've started. You'll see here this what is known as a CTA, a call to action. If you go to pranadm.com, you can sign up for our now weekly newsletter. We haven't even updated the website, Brian. What are we doing? If you mash that button and let us know that you want to get the next one. We've started something called the Prana Bullet. Comes out every Friday. And it really is just an end of the week wrap up of the stuff that we're all dealing with, and give you a little bit of view into what our perspective is, how we're working with whatever the new shifting dynamics are. We're also going to be able to provide you with an exclusive look into sales, pre-sales specifically. We're focused on the fan confidence rating, and we've talked about that on this show before. It is our way of measuring how fans are interacting with comic shops and how interested they are in individual issues and in single issues overall. So we'll be giving that every week. That is every Friday. If you just go to pranadm.com and find the sign up, I promise it says monthly, but it's going to be starting to be weekly. So the Prana Bullet will be in your inbox. You'll get the very next one. So I hope you do enjoy, and it helps you, kind of gain some perspective on what we're all dealing with. Which is, man,
I don't even know what I'm doing with all these buttons. Things are moving around. Let's jump right into the big story, which was the Diamond bankruptcy action. It happened it closed out a week ago. It was supposed to be one day, ended up dragging into two. So it was originally scheduled for March 24th. It ended up happening over the 24th and the 25th. So much was auctioned off. Like pretty much everything. The Diamond Select Toys, Alliance Game Distributors, collectible, so CGA, that one, Gemstone, Overstreet. I'm trying to remember all the things. Like there was don't they own Gentle Giant? A couple of
I believe so. Yeah.
couple of,
There was there. Yeah. I mean, it's easy to think of Diamond Comics as Diamond Comics Distribution is just a warehouse that they put single issues out of. But man, that was an entire suite of companies, and each with a team attached to it, all of whom were either making toys or handling distribution or handling publishing or handling, many things inside of our sphere. So it was a massive undertaking. And obviously the biggest surprise was Alliance coming in and really becoming that sort of dominant distributor all in one fell swoop. I think that was really it caught me off guard. I told people I thought it was 85% that we were going to see Universal come in and purchase that. And obviously, I woke up to the same surprise as the rest of you.
yeah.
So.
And I mean, it looked like Universal would definitely have like kind of especially I think the part that they had really positioned themselves for was Alliance Game Distributing.
Yeah.
And they were going for a couple of the other assets. And then it looked like, a lot of the pieces were going to be sold kind of individually. Like I know there were a couple pretty major players that were looking at the game asset or the toy assets. There were a couple electronic retailers or people who were looking at some of the digital assets, things like Previews World and stuff like that. So yeah, having it all get purchased by one player was kind of a little bit of a surprise to me. Honestly, I didn't think that was going to happen.
I honestly
Um,
did not either. I really thought it was going to get split up, and we were gonna be seeing a world where that sort of fracturing was going to play out, with people kind of competing for each other for those attention and those assets.
yeah,
Um,
for sure.
uh, but I think it's really fascinating. I think we all got to know very quickly who Alliance Entertainment was, although not all of us were caught off guard. I will say that I've heard from a couple of major retailers um, that Alliance is a wonderful distributor. They already work with, they already are purchasing product from them, and so the idea of uh, another of their product lines being covered by this really well organized, very professional machine is good news.
Yeah.
I will say that there was we did get scooped by another podcast, another channel, let's call them that, who was able to bring on the head of Alliance in. And I will say that I don't know, what was your reaction to that, um the results of that interview, Brian?
Um, so it doesn't sound like they know a ton about comics, specifically the comics market. Didn't sound like they were very interested in single issue comics. Just they specifically mentioned that they're looking for like a $5 minimum profit on every piece that they have in stock. So there's no way you're going to make $5 profit on a $5 comic. That just don't match, right? Um,
Yeah,
so yeah,
that's
that was interesting. There was some specific, like, they had no idea about Free Comic Book Day. They mentioned Record Store Day, which is not nearly the same as Free Comic Book Day.
no.
Um, there were a couple other things that were just like, oh, these people didn't buy this for the comics, which is, I mean, it's Diamond Comic Distributors, weird, but they definitely bought it for the channel. Like, they wanted the access to all the retailers, and they bought it for, some of the pop culture merchandise that they know that they can leverage. So they are big into pop culture stuff already. This is just another spoke in the wheel, but it's not a major spoke. Like, it's just a spoke.
I think
So
it's
yeah, it's
the interesting piece about what you just said there is that in that way, DCD becomes their intro into this incredibly stable market of comic shops, right? I
yeah,
think one of the biggest assets that the direct market has, their value proposition to, like, especially people who are trying to build IP and entertainment companies, is that they are so stable, right? That these
yeah,
these stores have not fluctuated as much as, say, bookstores, or even game stores, but definitely record stores. Those kinds of places have all gone, had peaks and valleys, whereas direct market comic shops kind of stay right about the same store count. So this is an intro into that in a very real way. I find it really interesting that I know one of the goals of Universal was to make this bridge back into game stores for comics, and obviously games into comic shops. And I think we're going to see that play out here. They're already carrying a lot of games and a lot of videos and that sort of thing. So I think there's going to be an interesting crossover there for them. Uh, if it's the same as what Universal was playing out, I don't know. So it is gonna be an interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. They have also said in that interview that they were keeping on as much of the Diamond staff as made sense, because they don't want to try and remake this wheel. So those two things, I think, end up kind of playing against each other. On the one hand,
mhm,
they don't want anything where they're not making $5 a SKU. On the other hand, they want to keep this team in place that has built this company, that was an asset that they bought.
yeah,
So where those two things start to balance out is going to be interesting in the long term, but I think it could be good. I think it's going to be, if I will say this, I said this in our newsletter this last week. If you are a publisher who is reliant on, if you're a publisher who is not, already got distribution outside of Diamond, and you are reliant on Diamond and getting to market, I think it's time to run somewhere else, because as much as Diamond will be an asset, I don't know how much they're going to be, how long they're going to be a consistent source for smaller publishers. You
It's
know,
true, yeah.
yeah,
But on the flip side, I think that the world of art books and stuff like that, which is honestly, like, anecdotally, my my ordering has shifted entirely away from Diamond for everything except for the stuff that Diamond exclusively carries. So things like art books, toys, stuff like that, I get through Diamond. And I think that stuff is going to be huge because
sure,
there's a huge markup on those items. They're 50, 60, $70 items. There's a small but dedicated crowd that, wants that kind of stuff. So I think there's definitely, as you like to say, juice in that squeeze, or squeeze in that. I don't know. I'm so bad at but yeah, I think
yeah,
there's definitely stuff to do with that kind of stuff where
100%.
things that they're the only ones that are interested in carrying. They're low volume, high value SKUs that can be really important to the business.
And our friends at CSA our friends at CSA are pointing out that I think there is more good than bad, I think, to be had for that, and I agree with that. I think just at the end of the day, it's going to be a while. We see how this shakes out, specifically for the assets like Free Comic Book Day, like the Diamond Book Distributors, Previews Magazine, Diamond
Yeah,
UK, right? Diamond UK felt like they were pretty solidly in the Universal camp, so it's gonna be a while before we see all of these things that, if you're just going to a comic shop every day, you're not going to understand like how many of those legs hold this table up. As those legs start maybe being removed or they start being bolstered up, it's going to be really interesting to see how that dynamic shifts,
yeah.
So
I think too that there's like, this is not the end, right? Like, there is going to be so many things that happen after this. So there's going to be a lot of movement within, because Alliance has to fund this acquisition somehow. And one way you fund an acquisition is by selling pieces of that acquisition, the things that aren't
right.
synergistically compatible with you. If they don't think Free Comic Book Day is compatible with them, there are plenty of places that I'm sure will buy the branding around Free Comic Book Day. There's a massive marketing play to be had with that. Same goes for things like, I don't know, Previous World. Like, there's people out there that would love to be the next Previous World, and it could be distributor agnostic. So there's tons of assets that are available,
Yeah.
and the ones that don't make sense for them to continue to build, they will offload for sure.
100%. And I know that there were plenty of, I mean, with the 30 plus people who showed up at that auction.
Yeah,
Many of them had their eye on one aspect, like
yep, for sure,
one component, and those components are now going to be available. So, yeah.
for sure. The
Heck,
second story, of course, will be Alliance. So we've talked a lot about this.
yeah.
Um, So they're the official winner of the auction. They're poised to integrate Diamond's resources into their larger distribution network. They've talked about, like, kind of how their systems are set up and things like that, and that they're ready to bring on a large number of assets like this. It's always like, will they modernize Diamond's systems? Will they be able to adopt to some of our, things like Comet? Uh, it'll be interesting to see. And one of the key takeaways I took from it was, Alliance is already in the collectibles market. If you think that the condition of a comic book matters, you should talk to a record owner, because not only does commission condition matter, but like
Sure.
humidity, what it was stored at, how it was pressed, whether or not you put too much pressure on the actual vinyl at some point, and depress the grooves. Like, there's so much more into it. So these guys know the collectibles market, and they've built, there's video out there of, like, their systems that they use to pick and pack.
Oh, yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
crazy. Like, it makes, and Diamond stuff was pretty sophisticated, but this stuff looks even crazier. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's a ton of stuff out there.
I am truly hopeful that they stick to the single issue comics product line and bring that kind of technological
Yeah,
focus. Oh,
right.
that would be wonderful to see them bring
Yeah.
that to bear. But who knows? Is it cost effective to have a robot pick up a $4 comic that you're only making $1 on, or maybe 20, 40 cents on. I don't know. We'll see. It's
But
going to be a fascinating
maybe
time.
they go to a bundle strategy where you have to have
Yeah.
25 copies of anything to, order it.
I think that's
I
a perfectly reasonable path, and
yeah,
maybe that's just it. That maybe that's the thing that they offer is that you're going to make a better as a retailer. You're going to make a better deal on a bundle there than you would at say Lunar, where they have to cost in pulling a single issue, a single
for sure.
copy of a single issue. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting time. Stay tuned because as they say, because we will definitely be following this because we have to. It's our jobs. We're not
Gonna
allowed to not follow this within great detail. So,
I'm gonna
so
need a bigger warehouse. I just know it.
yeah.
Just know it. Our friends at Distillery have moved to Penguin Random House. I kind of knew this one a while ago, but they had an exclusive deal with Diamond for the last little while. Obviously, that's not ideal right now in this kind of climate, I should say, not economy. Um, I'm pretty sure that PRH is a partial investor in Distillery or something
Yeah,
like that. There's like,
there is a connection to their investors. So
yeah,
it's a pretty convoluted path that I only barely understand. So I will not be too. But it's not as though I don't believe that PRH is an actual direct investor. My understanding is that a board member of
okay.
PRH is an investor. It's one of those connections.
Yeah,
So
and I just know they have some sort of connection somewhere, and
yeah.
so this was kind of a surprise that it didn't happen earlier. Honestly, like I'm surprised when they left Lunar that they didn't go to PRH, but I think they were still kind of teasing out how things were going to develop. What will be interesting to me is PRH has done an amazing job of creating boxes and things that are specific to the single issue comic market. When you get a PRH order, you now get a small little box that is like to the millimeter a comic size. So now
Really?
they're going to have to adapt a little bit for the more traditional magazine size thing. And they don't really carry a lot of magazine size products if you think about the rest of their offering. So it'll be interesting. I have no doubt that they'll do some awesome things and that we'll see like a really really good packaging because PRH has learned their lesson on packaging and they know that it's super important. And they also recognize that Distillery has a premium product with spot varnish and all that stuff. And with that comes, the need to treat it really well. So I have confidence that PRH will do some really cool stuff, but I'm really, really interested, like from a packaging nerd standpoint, like what does that physically look like? Because I think it'll be kind of neat to see.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And that might be what took them so long, as you point out. Like it did take
For
a
sure.
while for this to happen. I'm certain that ball got rolling very quickly. Um, what I love about what the slide you built here is that this call out is for retailers who have previously ordered distillery titles through Diamond. You must now adjust your ordering workflows through PRH. So
Yeah.
do not miss that. Do not assume that it is taken care of. You want to make sure that you are getting your orders correct on that. And I know, of course, I'm sorry, guys. One more thing that's going to make your lives a little bit harder for the next little bit.
Yeah, and like from my perspective, and I'm sure Django at Comic Shop Assistant, they go through the same thing. It's really hard to get that timing right on when we offer PRH up as a distributor that people can order from on our backend tools. Because with this starting in June, there's going to be a bit of an overlap where initial orders are going to be placed before FOC stuff. So we usually tie things towards FOCs, but there's still a handful of stores that are placing initial orders. Don't with PRH. It's such a super drag when you have to deal with PRH initial orders. So I really recommend you not doing it. But yeah, it's yet another kind of technological hurdle that we got to think about as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it was also what's interesting about this move is I think it does show the sort of different distributors are going to have different assets that they bring for different publishers, right? So for some publishers, it's going to be more important that they get full coverage of all the stores. For some of them, it's going to be more important that they are able to protect their bottom line. For distillery, I know, having worked with Chip over the years, Chip Mosier, who is one of the principals over there, I know how much he is a student of the details of marketing and the feedback that you can get, and that was as much a part of his move from Lunar to Diamond as anything. For an exclusive, is that sort of feedback. So I think what we're going to start seeing for all of these publishers is you will begin to understand what was the most valuable thing for them when they made that decision. Is it about when and where you're launching? Is it about the kind of service that you're going to get? As we get to a place where these really solid distribution partners are coming to play on the playing field, and we may or may not ever see another distribution war like we did back in the 90s. We're going to get a good feeling for each publisher's place, in those partners. So I'm fascinated to watch how this goes, because I think it's really going to be it's going to be a strain on retailers until everybody figures out the workflows. But it is, at the end of the day, I think it makes us a stronger industry.
Yeah.
There's a little more decentralization is good.
Yeah, I agree. There's been a couple of good chats here. Good PRH has been responsible to retailers on packaging. I heard a ton of bad stuff, but I've never seen a team respond with the same intensity that these guys did. Like, these guys actually sent people to stores to see how people unpack things, and then took that back and worked on solutions. So that is not something you see a lot. I think they've done a really, really good job, and I think that it's a really great team over there at PRH.
Well, they took I have the I don't know, responsibility. I have the blame. I have the credit for having taken Matthew Klein, who is now working over at PRH. He was working at Forbidden Planet when we Forbidden Planet here in the NYC when we brought him to Valiant as a sales rep, and he's been kind of in the comics publishing world ever since. So I think it's people like that who have very diverse backgrounds and have been on the floor, literally. I think that's going to be what brings them to them.
Yeah, sure.
I think you got to pull up Gorilla Todd here. I don't know, man. We got to talk about this.
No, we don't need to see that one.
I think we need to see that. I'm going to keep opening it. I do not have the
That's
option
what happened.
to change
I
the
thought I was
story and
closing
settings
it.
and manage comics, Brian.
No, I just said that, dude. I just said that it's a fine line between when we make it available, because if we made it available right now, you cannot order anything from PRH, and it's an all or nothing thing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I can't say order everything that's available from PRH and also everything that is currently available from because you know what? If we had an exclusive publisher option, that would actually be an easier thing that I'd never even considered before. So all of this stuff is so new that the rules keep changing, and as we adapt to them, it's like ultimate flexibility. It's true. Like, we build systems in place in our systems so that you don't end up double ordering from two distributors. But then there's going to be situations where we need to make you able to order from this distributor until X day, and then start ordering from that new distributor on Y day. So we just don't have those things in place yet, because all this stuff changes so fast.
And I think for the publishers who are listening in, I think it is important for you to keep track of these changes, and also to keep conversation with people like Brian, people like Django, Comic Shop Assistant, Stu over at Comic Hub. Like, your choices are going to be reflected in the POS systems, and those POS systems are going to be reflected in pre-orders, and those pre-orders are going to end up being what your sales are based on. So we heard this week about a publisher who made a choice. I don't want to dig. I'm not naming names, but they made a choice that has meant that they're going to have a hard time getting pre-orders. And it seemed like a really smart choice for, I think it was bundling, but in the end, it means that if the system isn't prepared for that choice, you have to find ways of fixing it, as it goes. So keep in touch with these guys is what I'm saying.
Solo this one for a second. I'm gonna talk to some publishers for a second directly.
Okay.
We can clip this later. Hey friends, it's your good buddy Brian here, just to talk to you a little bit about bundling. So bundling is a great idea. I think you should all do it. But a bundle of cover A is not the UPC code of cover A. Okay, that's a different thing. And you need to make the cover A available for people to order, even if they don't order single issues. You can say you can't order this as a single thing. You can only order the bundle. And we're okay with that. But yeah, bundles, be careful. Because this has happened a couple of times, and I'm going to call out one of them, Vault, because they know that they did this. Vault originally solicited Money Shot as a cover A, and then they went back and changed that same UPC code and said now it's only available in 10 copy bundles. So in Managed Comics, I adjusted it so that it would appear as a single thing, so I knew how many customers wanted to buy it. And then when it came in, I was invoicing customers for $21 worth of comics, because that's how much a bundle cost. And I was like, oh crap, I forgot to do that. And then I had to go back and fix it, because that's just the way the data works. So if that would have been listed as a cover A, and then they would have offered the cover, the 10 as a bundle, they could still say you can't order cover A. They could just, have there'd have to be some mechanism in Lunar's side to do that. But yeah, you just can't turn that option off, because we need to know some idea of what kind of pre-orders we're getting.
There you go. Love that. Look at that. See, if you're publishing, this is the kind of in the weeds bullshit that we're going to be doing on this show.
All right. Gorilla Todd just tuned in when you said, don't forget to no worries, Todd. We gotcha. Let's see. What would the appetite be among publishers for a digital point of sale system for retailers to sell digital copies on, either in addition to or separately?
This has been experimented with a couple of times. I think very loudly. I think that the Comic Hub was going to attempt this during COVID. I still think that there's a real communication gap on digital versus print, and I think that there's in many ways a big belief inside of the retail community that digital is a competitor for them, so they don't want to be in a place of selling it. That anytime that you're selling a digital product, you're taking away from the physical product. So I don't know. It's a great question, and I think it keeps getting returned to because it does seem like a natural fit. But I will say, I think it's as much about the emotional viewpoint of most retailers than it is even really the logistics of could it be done. Of course, it could be done. It's not that difficult to transfer a PDF instead of a physical product. But yeah,
I fundamentally don't think they're the same audience.
I don't either.
Digital and so the digital people aren't coming into a comic store to buy digital. They're coming into a comic store to buy the physical thing of the digital thing that they bought. And I'll even out myself and say that there was a period of time, quite a big period of time, where I bought Saga exclusively digitally because I wanted to read it like literally the first thing in the morning. I didn't even want to wait till I got to a comic store at 10 a.m. I wanted to read it first thing in the morning. That was pre the pause. But then I also bought every hardcover volume. I also have every friggin' trade of Saga because at some point I wanted to physically read it as well. So it's usually like that was a specific use case where it was a different thing to me. The Saga comics weren't ever something I wanted to buy. I wanted to read it as trades, but I also wanted to read it immediately. So yeah, I think that can Yeah, they're different audiences.
Also, I think that there's a different, I mean, there are different audiences for comics. I think that the experience of going into a comic shop to buy comics is the product you're selling. This is just my pet theory. I
100%.
had a
Yep.
long conversation about this. We'll have an upcoming episode with Wayne Winsett. Recently just sold Time Warp Comics in Boulder, Colorado. Boulder? Or maybe something like that in Colorado. Anyway, where he feels like Amazon is a competitor, right? I personally don't think Amazon is really your competitor. I think Amazon is a different experience. You know, when I order comics from Amazon, it's because I want them delivered to my house tomorrow and I want them cheap, right? But when I buy comics from a comic shop, it's because I want that experience of going and being there. And you know, digital is not that same experience, and I will never get that experience from Amazon. It's never happening, right?
Yeah. This is
Yes.
a huge point. Like, you're
Yes.
selling curation and aggregation. With my own comic store, one of the key features it offers is an email that goes out every week that says, "Hey, these are the things you should look at." And like 2 weeks ago, when Absolute Martian Manhunter came out, I told everyone, I was like, "I have never done this before, but I will give you a money back guarantee. If you buy this and you hate it, I will buy it off you, and you can throw it in a river if you want, but I would prefer you gave it to somebody who would actually appreciate
And
it."
discoverability. You will
Yeah,
never
yeah,
I'm never going to be surprised by an algorithmic recommendation. I
yep,
will be surprised by Brian saying, "Hey, I know who you are. This is what you want."
yeah,
And it's that surprise that I show up for. It's
yeah.
not the product, it's the experience. I maintain that belief. I
It's why
truly
you go
believe
to
it.
your favorite bar. You don't go to your favorite
100%.
bar because you like, the Woodford
Booze.
Reserve they have. It's the same Woodford Reserve you have at your house. You go to it because you like the people that are there.
Exactly. Or,
Uh,
you gotta get away from your wife. It's a
well, we don't say that. She might have heard me. Okay, we're okay. We're all right.
Another big move this week, Alien Books and their license of Valiant comics, my old alma mater, moved
Yeah,
over to our friends
something
at
about that.
IDW. Huh?
You know something about Alliance
I
or
do. I do. All right,
Alliance.
Alien.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I will say
Tell me
I'm
about it.
connected to this one in several different directions. IDW is a former client. Obviously, I worked many years for Valiant, so I'm staying a little bit connected to that. I actually we share a writer. One of the projects I'm working on as Fred Van Lente as a writer, and he's writing a whole bunch
That's
of
cool.
stuff over at Alien. So yeah, we have a lot of connections to this particular story. It's been a fascinating thing to watch this company kind of grow up by licensing the English versions of these of creation, right, of these books, as opposed to Mostros, which was their parent company, would take was a foreign licensor and would take your English translations and they translate it and then reprint it. So now they were actually doing the books, and it was a bold program. But now they're taking that bold program over to IDW. I'll be honest, I don't yet have a view into what their editorial plan is. I know that they're planning on new books. They've talked a lot about the Valiant universe being a big part of this, but editorially, I still am a little, I don't know what's going on over there. I know that they let go of the editor who was on top of this project. So it's a good question. I would love to hear more. If you're out there, feel free to give me a call. Let's talk.
This is interesting from, like, I don't think we've seen this specific model yet with PRH. I know, is Massive, is that who it is that's doing something kinda?
Sort of. But that's what I mean. It's a little unclear.
Mhm.
Is Alien Books creating these books and then putting them through IDW, which is not an uncommon thing back in the day. I want to say, oh gosh, I don't know. IDW has been this kind of conduit for IP from other people before. I'm blanking on the names right this
Oh, yeah,
second.
weren't there those kids books they did too for a while? Like,
Yeah,
they were IDW, but they were like an imprint of
yeah.
IDW that wasn't actually owned by IDW. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, this is not an uncommon practice. It's obviously more in the forefront now that there's this shakeup inside of distribution. But as we go, like Darby Pop, that's who I was looking for. They did Darby Pop back in the day, where Darby Pop created their own IP and they brought it to IDW for distribution, and you will get a higher orders because you're being distributed, because you're coming in under the IDW catalog. So people are more likely to say, well, my IDW number is this, even though I've never heard of this. I won't try. I mean, I'll try my IDW number. So it's not an uncommon tactic. It's just that where it's more to the forefront. So like you said, with the massive indies, right? Massive comics, this is essentially, I mean, I guess the crassest way is selling entrance into the lunar catalog through underneath their heading, and a lot of people are doing that. So but this is not an uncommon tactic. It's just obviously more in the news right now. And how Valiant slash Alien Books, how Alien Books is handling that is still some questions in the air. I don't entirely have a viewpoint in that, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Obviously I'm always rooting for those Valiant characters to find a home and find distribution. I think that is important.
Yeah, so retailers are going to see Alien titles offered through the existing IDW PRH channels that will streamline ordering. Visibility could increase. You may see discount changes because this is going to be using the PRH discount stuff instead of I think they're with Diamond right now, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. They're moving from Diamond to IDW, and hopefully they can weather that loss of revenue. We still are waiting to see. One of the aspects we didn't really discuss is the fact that Alliance, through this bankruptcy, still needs to. We still need some clarity as to who gets paid, because it was looking like a lot of publishers are just going to be out a lot of money.
Yeah,
because of that bankruptcy.
Yeah. I think in one of the things I read, I think they said that they've got a bunch of financial obligations they have to meet. Alliance does that are part of this thing. So yeah, hopefully people get paid. That's
please. We hope to keep everybody viable.
Yeah. Let's talk dollar bills, y'all.
Oh my gosh.
Impact of tariffs on the companies. So this is a big kind of, we don't know yet. A lot of this is we don't know. U.S. is expected to begin enforcing a 25% tariff on various items imported from Canada beginning April 2nd. Originally, it was all, but that has become various. And then after he spoke to our new prime minister, it became some, and maybe a few. So who knows? That's why the stock market is up and down, because one thing the stock market doesn't like is uncertainty. Like, I don't know, maybe a few, depends on what way the wind's blowing. But there's also expected to be further tariffs placed on China. And a lot of our supplies and things like that come from China. A lot of the higher end kind of book stuff is also coming in from China. And you can probably speak more to that than I can about like why a lot of this kind of high end stuff comes from China.
Well, I mean, the higher end stuff involves labor, right? At the end of the day, it's about packaging. It's about taking, not only is the things coming off the printing press, but then they need to be all stitched together. There's like, I think there's something like 6 different steps to making a hardcover. All of that requires some labor. And then if there's any additional attention, that requires labor. And labor, we in the US have not been really great at for many, many years. So that tends to be going overseas. I'm hearing a lot about Korea. The Korean printers are still doing pretty well because we're not talking about tariffing them yet. Is tariffing a verb? Anyway,
it sounds right. If it wasn't, it is now.
It is, yeah. I'm hearing, though, it's really interesting is kind of in the background. What I'm hearing is a lot of printers, a lot of publishers are moving to American printers, who seem to be sourcing their paper from American mills, which is fascinating, because up until this, I really had assumed that most of our paper was coming from Canada, considering how badly your you being Canada, I'm actually calling you Brian, how badly your labor issues at the end of COVID really affected
so bad.
the paper gave us a paper crisis. So I was surprised to hear that the American mills are even capable of handling this, but apparently they are. So we're seeing a lot of U.S. publishing going to U.S. printers and hopefully U.S. paper. I'm told that this is only partially mitigating the problem because, we're still getting most of our ink and nearly all of our steel from China. And the steel is important because you have plates. Those plates have to be printed out of metal. So, there's no way to mitigate this problem completely. However, that said, there are enough changes now that I'm sorry, on top of all of this, before I get to the however that said, I'm also hearing that the 25% tariffs are not affecting printed goods or paper going back and forth across the border. Yeah. So what that means is right this second is the Canadian printers are still okay. They're still doing business. They're still committing to longer term contracts, which is great. It means that there's now suddenly more competition, and so printing is still a very viable thing. All of this to say, that means that we may not be seeing the explosion of cover prices that everybody was really worried about. We're not, at least not in the short term. And even if those tariffs are put into place, my guess is that we're going to see there'll be a long wait and see to see if this is like, can we weather this storm? Is this just a squall? And right. So if so, do we need to extend our cover prices now in order to survive it? Or can we just stay the course and kind of absorb this, in our profits for a little while in order to keep the business? I'm still optimistic at the moment, just talking to people that I'm talking to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel confident things will be okay for a little while.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're starting to see some changes in supplies like bags and boards. And that's just because the Chinese tariffs, we're also seeing those up in Canada because there was some, I don't know, people are angry about China for some reason. It's a Tuesday. So, so there were tariffs placed on China and Canada as well. So we've seen slight price increases there. So our advice overall is just watch for cover price hikes, watch for what's going on with the printers and stuff like that, and really pay attention to how the publishers are responding to this stuff.
Also, it's a good time to go back and find this comment. As a creator, I feel comics are quite cheap. To be fair, prices could be higher. I agree. I think that there is room for certain kinds of comics to already have an increased cover price. But I hear from some of the larger publishers that they're tinkering with the idea of lower cover prices. Like one of the differentiators they want to bring to the market is, I don't know. I don't think they're going to hold the line at, $2.99 again anytime soon, but we might see them use that competitive advantage to start moving circulation.
I don't understand how Todd McFarlane's entire line with cardstock covers is $2.99. The entire line. Like, I don't understand it. And as a retailer, I don't love it either. Like, if it was $3.99, I make 50% more. And honestly, for the amount of labor that's involved, like $3.99 is kind of the floor for me. Like, I don't really want to be selling comics less than $3.99.
I get that. And for the same reason that we're not seeing, we're seeing the big question mark is Alliance distribution, right? Alliance Entertainment. How are they going to handle things where they're not making $5 per SKU? Well, as if cover prices go down, they're going to make less per SKU. So that will definitely change those things. So I think it's all up in the air. It's all going to continue to be.
That's nothing makes me happier than uncertainty, Adam. Oh, I wish we could have more of it.
Brian, if you are a comic shop and you're watching this, what are the big takeaways that you think are there?
So the last time we got together, we talked with Joe Murray about his digital go bag. And this is kind of an extension of that. I really took what we've got here in the news and I kind of applied some of his methodology to it. And the number one thing that I took away from that last one was know your numbers. You should always know your numbers. When I look at something in my shop, I know intuitively what the profit margin on that thing is, and I know whether or not I can lower or raise it. And sometimes I lower prices to churn it out so that I can get more stuff in. There's some really good deals to be had from distributors right now. And in order to make a bunch of money, I just did a quick sale on some stuff that had been sitting around for a while and made some money so that I can buy 75% off hardcovers, which I will turn through so quickly. So continue diversifying your suppliers. Look at suppliers that are non-traditional. I've changed my bag and board supplier because I found out that I've got somebody who's fairly local who I can get shipping almost half of what I was paying from my previous supplier. And that counts towards my margin. So I switched bag and board suppliers. I don't love these new bags. They leave a fingerprint on them. I don't like. Um, Monitor both your suppliers and direct to retail programs. So you're going to have to start watching a little bit more about like so Vault, for example, is doing direct to retail. What are their discounts they're offering, and do those discounts kind of offset the shipping costs that you're going to have to pay? And what is your total discount, not just your discount, on the line item? Expand product diversity to reduce dependency on high tariff items. So it might be time to look at a used graphic novel section or a more profound back issue or Magic the Gathering cards, if you can figure that market out, which I cannot figure out. But if you can, God bless you and jump on it. Adjust your pricing strategies to protect your margins, but don't alienate your customers. And this one goes to the last comment that I'm gonna talk about, and we're gonna get to that one right after this next one, which is embracing pre-order culture by building recurring revenue and mitigating inventory risk. You should not be just taking blind risks on everything. You should know roughly how many customers are going to buy a thing before you buy X number of extra of it, so that you can mitigate that inventory risk. If I know that I have 100 people who are going to buy Batman 158, I can safely add another 20 or 30 copies and know that I'm at least covered on my profit for that first 100. So that it's super important to get into letting your customers pre-order their books. And that's a managed comics slash comic shop assistant slash comic hub plug. But in 2025, pre-orders are not just important in comics. Pre-orders are the way of commerce, period. If you go to a record store, you do not get the record on day one unless you pre-ordered it. Just there aren't enough copies. So we as an industry just have to embrace that a little bit more. And finally, communicate transparently with customers about cost changes and delays. Don't hide this stuff. Let them know, hey, things are changing. This industry has never changed as much as it has in the last couple of years. And you have to be honest with them and tell them what's going on. I rarely will say the word diamond, but I will say my distributors having an issue getting things. Literally this week, I got one box from Diamond, which is a cardboard distillery standee. And then I got an email 15 minutes later that said, all your stuff the rest of your stuff was left on our shipping dock. And we just discovered it now. So I will get no Diamond stuff this week other than the distillery cardboard standee that I can use to put my distillery books in. So
you got the most important thing is what you're saying, right?
Yeah. So I've got an email on Wednesday that goes out to all my subs that say this is what arrived. And I know there's a handful of them that's going to be like, well, this, which was supposed to ship today, according to Diamond's website, isn't in that list. Yes, that is correct. And it's not because I didn't pay my bill. It's because my stuff's sitting on a loading dock in Memphis. And yes.
Well, you wouldn't be the first to use that as an excuse for not paying your bill.
No, I know it's true, but let them know. Let them know that's. Oh man, let me talk to you about the Canpar debacle that I figured out a while ago. Sometime. So yeah, Yeah, know your numbers, communicate, do what's right for the business. And remember that you raising your prices is not as punitive to your customers as you going out of business is ultimately.
Amen. Amen to that. And I will say, I will add something to Brian's takeaways. He didn't give it a plug to it, but I think that it should be reiterated that if you are a comic shop and you are either A, not using a POS system, or B, using a POS system that you bought and that you own, right? What you're getting is you have is a system that is not being supported, that is not going to change. There are no new features. There's nobody actively thinking about how am I going to make this easier for you. So now is the time to invest in software as a service. Talk to Managed Comics, talk to Comic Shop Assistant, talk to Comic Hub. Do that research now because it's only going to get more complicated. There is no light at the end of this tunnel where it goes back to being simple, where you make one order and you don't have to worry about it. You're going to need help. You need friends. These are your friends.
Yeah.
All right. There's the end of my ad for that.
That was
all right. We've got about 5 more minutes here, Brian. What else did we have on deck?
That was it, really. We
it?
also had we ranked, got
Look
through
at
all of
us.
it. You just got to get through your list. Get on the list. Get on the list.
Once again, if you can visit pranadm.com and sign up for the Prana Bullet, this is something that we're going to send out once a week. It's just the idea is to make it very skimmable, very simple and easy. It'll be almost, I think it's going to be a little more focused towards publishers, whereas our goal here is to be talking to retailers. But for all of you, our goal here is just to create resources and to create information, or to find the information that you need in order to grow your business inside of the comics industry. Because at the end of the day, we need healthy businesses, we need healthy retailers, we need healthy publishers, we need healthy creators. Like, we all need to be contributing to this thing that we call comics, because otherwise it's going to go away. And this is all I know how to do. Seriously, my children need to go to university. For those of you who are Canadians, like, I need that please sell more comics.
Same. I got nothing. If this goes away, I got nothing. I just bought a comic shop, folks. Like, let's make this thing work. I can't afford for the. Oh man, can you imagine? Oh.
We've got about 3 more minutes. If there's anything in that we haven't actually covered of the week that you think is important, feel free to jump into the comments, because we'd love to see you. And I think we've already pitched all of our major projects, except maybe, go out and order ZCN and Recca's Publishing's launch of The Future Is #1 out in May. But yeah, Brian, we did it.
I know. I can't believe it.
That's crazy.
First of many. Of many weeklies.
Also, if you're hearing this either as it's live or in the audio rebroadcast that we're going to do, what would your show like this look like? What would you like us to be covering? Because our goal really is to try and find the things that you're going to need in the coming weeks in order to make the decisions you need to make. What are we missing? Brian and I are, we definitely do our best to stay on top of things, but yeah, but there's no way we can cover it all. So please do feel free to send your suggestions in. info@pranadm.com is really the best way to get through to me. And we can, we'll happily be building this out as we go on the fly. Brian, I'm all out. Man, I'm wrung dry.
That was a good one. No, it was good. I think I didn't think that we'd be able to get through all 5 of those things. When I ran them through my little tool to make the rundown, I was like, oh no, we're gonna have an extra 10 minutes. It's all good. It's all good.
Well, thank you to Comic Shop Assistant. I'm assuming that's Django. Thank you to Dragon. Let's take a look. We have one quick question. As a creator working on a new monthly maxi series, I'm trying to determine format. Yeah. Okay. Any suggestions that would split direct and bookstore formats? Oh, you know what? 100%. I will say that single issues are still the value prop of the comic shop, right? There's a reason that they work, and it's because you get an opportunity to get the attention of your audience 4 or 5 or 6 times as opposed to just once, right? If you put out a single graphic novel into the marketplace and you don't already have an audience that is ready for that graphic novel, what you get if you get on the shelves is a week in the new section and then a spine for the rest of its life until hopefully it sells in whatever window that the retailer wants and they reorder it and you get that spine again. But if not, like that's all the only time you get for attention. If you want to build an audience, there's nothing like single issues. I cannot stress this enough, is that the reason the comic shops are still around is because of that weekly audience. And so please, I would definitely, there's a reason to go that direction. All right. We are officially out of time. I feel like we vamped a little bit there at the end, Brian, but
Yeah, I liked it.
thanks so much,
I liked
man.
it.
Awesome.
All
All
right,
right,
thank
y'all.
you.
Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week at 2 p.m. Eastern. And namaste.